We've been married almost 39 years, together 42. We're self-employed, so that does help with the kind of fostering we do. When people ask us how many kids we have, it's a hard question because who do we count? But we have three kids in heaven. We had 2 miscarriages, and then we had a daughter who was stillborn full term. So we started out with 1 biological daughter. Then we decided to look into adoption after our daughter Miranda died. We have 2 kids from Korea. And then we had 1 more biological. I was blessed to be a stay-at-home mom. And when our youngest, Taylor, went to kindergarten, I was like, what do I want to do with my life? I want to do something with kids, but I did not want to teach or do daycare. I don't really like a lot of kids at the same time, but I thought I could work with 1 or 2. So we got licensed to foster, and it's just kind of gone from there. The first one was not medical. The second one, because my schedule was more flexible, a little guy that couldn't go to daycare because he was a preemie, and they just asked, like, would you be willing to give this a try? So we did, and it has just gone from there. We now take a lot of kids that other specialized foster homes won't take, kids with trachs and ventilators and ostomies and IV nutrition and just some other things like that. I think we've probably been licensed 19, 20 years. Matthew, our first foster child, came just about exactly 18 years ago from now.
I've got an agronomy animal science degree, and Mindy's got her psychology and counseling degree. We're not a nurse, we're not a doctor, we're not even an EMT.
Our kids were typically developing kids.
Anybody can do it. If we can, anybody can. It's just a learning process that you want to learn how to do some of the things that the kids might need, like learning how to take care of an ostomy or cliff lip and palate and the things that go with that, and creating a team and all that kind of stuff. It's really just, you have to have an open arms, open eyes. One of the gifts Mindy has, or I have, either of us together, we're not afraid to try about anything. We can do whatever we want. God will give you the talents to get there, and the gifts and or the people with gifts.
You need to be willing to go into unknown situations and just learn. It's exactly what we do. We take a kid. I'm not a nurse, but I learn a whole lot about that kid and their needs. I have a good team. I've been able to develop a team of people over the years. And that's what, like, if somebody went into this, I would definitely encourage them, like, get to know your doctors, get to know your therapist, because it just gets easier then as you take more kids. But when you take a kid with medical needs, you will be taught what that child needs. Our kids normally come from the hospital, so I spend time in the hospital with them before they leave, learning about their cares, learning what special things they have, talking to the doctors, talking to the nurses. But it is important, I think, for a person to be willing to make connections. Doing any type of special needs, therapeutic foster care, you really have to be willing to go outside yourself and your family, your typical supports, and bring in other people that can help you with the situation, because it isn't something that we or anyone should be or could be doing by themselves. One of the best things about doing therapeutic foster care is it allows you opportunities to get to know birth families. Because for us, a lot of times our kids are in the hospital when we meet them. I totally hope that the parents are there, because if I can meet them at the hospital and just let them know who I am, let them know a little bit about our story, they just feel so much better letting their child go with me. And then I always try and include birth parents in all appointments. If they can't be there in person, I video call them. We encourage them to ask questions of the doctors. Even like at visits, we've had birth parents come to our house, because if it's felt safe, for everybody that knows more about them, it's fine with us. I'm a huge advocate for birth families and reunification. This kind of foster care gives us the opportunity to do all that way more, I think, than other types, where you might, like I said, have a social worker pick up the child at your house and take them to a visit and they come back. I just work really hard at it, and it's incredible. I can say that we are still in touch with all of our biological families. Unfortunately, with our type of kids, the medical stuff, often precludes birth parents from being able to parent their child long term. The reason they came into care was maybe relationship difficulties, substance abuse problems, living situations, and those things just they really have to be stable to take a kid in home with medical problems. We've unfortunately had to have a lot of our kids had to have an adoption plan for them, but I'm still in touch with birth parents. I can connect them and the adoptive families. We've had two that we've been able to get together, the birth family, the foster family, and the adoptive family. And that's what a joy that is. And if not a meeting, everybody always agrees that I can be the middle person, like adoptive family, I'll take pictures, they'll send me pictures, I'll forward them on to the birth family. So it's just, I think it's something really special about therapeutic foster care, what we do that allows those things to happen.
We tell folks when they, especially adoptive parents, that they're being taken into a bigger family. They're not just adopting one child. They get all of our clan, including biological parents. And I mean, we have relationships with all of them. So our family isn't 6 or 7, it's 27.
If it is apparent that reunification is not going to be able to happen, I'm able to process that with the birth parents. Give lots of hugs if they want it, and just really support them. And we had one that right down to the last minute, they were going to fight, and their lifestyle was not going to support them parenting this child. And then they did voluntarily relinquish their rights. And I was crying. I gave him a big hug, and I'm like, you did something so wonderful for your child. You saw that you weren't able to meet their needs, and you gave them the opportunity to have another family that is going to be able to meet those needs. And I support that so much. We had our daughter who is stillborn. I relate that to them because I'm like, they're not losing a child to death, but they're losing a child. And that is really hard. I just feel like birth parents, once they know me and get to talk to me, they know I don't want their child. I am the middle person. I'm just going to take care of them to the very best of my ability, love them until they can get where they're going. And hopefully that's back with their birth family. If not, then onto their forever family. Some people will say, like, doesn't that affect your other kids negatively? And we just are like, no, it's just, I think it's so cool how all of Woody and I and our kids, our viewpoint has just grown. We have met people that, have a different lifestyle than us, people that make choices that we can't understand. But when we get to know them as a person, it just gets a different perspective. When we started this, we did talk to our kids. I mean, they were 100% on it right away. And even like one of our kids is not going to hook up a G-tube or, do anything else, but he immediately gets down on the floor. Even now, he's 28, and plays with a kid, talks to a kid whose brain didn't even develop normally. He is right there. One of our daughters is now a NICU nurse and I know it was part of the influence of us taking care of these kids. So the influence of foster care has just affected our whole family. But our daughter got married a year and a half ago, and she decided to have foster kids for her flower girls and ring bearers. So we had 8 little foster kids from 13 down to a year. Walk down the aisle with her. We have 2 foster daughters who have passed away. So we had pink balloons with their names on it tied to one of the girls' wheelchairs. I let all the birth parents know this was happening. I shared pictures with all the birth parents. Our kids have learned about other cultures. We've gone to powwows and learned so much about Native American culture in South Dakota. Foster care has allowed us all to expand our horizons, expand, our worldview, but also allowed us to see the real people that go with those stories, which I think is important.
And it brings together a whole group too. I always use the example we've been to 2 Native American funerals for 2 of our girls. And the first one, we didn't know what we were getting into. It was a 4-day wake, and It was an eye opener. One of our kids was a pallbearer, and we got star quilt. You got a star quilt there too, and they just included us as part of the family. And the eye opener for us that we didn't know what we were doing across cultures here is when they had the funeral, the executive director was there and came up to us afterwards and basically said, in my 30 years of doing this, I've never seen a foster family included in a Native American funeral.
If you want to make a difference in a really small way that just resonates so much, foster care is the way to go. It's just really incredible. And that's, to me, that's what fostering is all about. It's just seeing how things evolve, having a part, being the cog in the wheel of all of this change for families, and even supporting birth families if they aren't able to parent their child, just continuing to support them and make them understand that it's not their fault. It's the way things had to be. And yes, they could have made different choices. Yes, they could have accepted help maybe, or, different things. But a lot of times it's multi-generational issues that are just hard to break. So we totally understand that. We don't judge people. So that's how we go into it. Foster care grows you as a person in so many ways. Being able to reach out to others, being able to say no, learning to communicate better, finding people that can support you personally, just all of these things that we never would have even, I just feel like our lives would have been pretty small if we hadn't done this.